What if all the Straw Hats had Devil Fruits? Now, Devil Fruits are one of the most creative abilities in all of anime and one of the main power systems of One Piece. And now that we have Awakening, the door has been kicked down, the gloves are off, and there is no limit to the creativity and craziness that we can get with these abilities. And in One Piece, anything is possible and you're only limited by your imagination. So it's no shock as to why people love to speculate on their favorite character's powers or what abilities a certain person would have, and the Straw Hats are the main characters, and with the imagination and creativity of Oda, you know these guys would pull off some crazy stuff. So today, we're going to talk about all of the non-Straw Hats that don't have a non-Straw Hats. All the Straw Hats that don't have a Devil Fruit and speculate on what powers they would get. Oda already actually gave them Devil Fruits before, but some of them I just didn't agree with, and I think we can think of something even better. So let's start with our favorite perverted chef, Sanji. This guy Oda gave him the Swim Fruit. What the hell are we talking about? I get what Oda was thinking, like, Oda Sanji's a good swimmer. He's actually one of the most versatile Straw Hats. He can fly, he has very strong durability, he can basically heal his wounds now because of the germ attack. But swim, I don't think that makes much sense. It actually kind of hinders Sanji in a way. Although I get where Oda's coming from, I think we could do a lot better. So I think the most obvious choice, of course, is the Mera no Mi, the Flame Fruit. Is it necessary? Not really. Sanji already has pretty good durability, both the added effects of the Logia. It'd be kind of hard not to touch him if you're not a hockey man, and if you do, good luck getting past this exoskeleton. But because of his flame-like abilities that might be linked to the Lunarian, he'd have actual better control over the fire, as he quite literally controlled the element itself. He would no longer have to worry about the body limitations if he can handle the flames, as he can quite literally go as hot as he wants, throw in his passion and the Germatech, and this guy is an absolute beast who can probably become the sun itself. It would help with his day-to-day life, such as cooking and lighting a cigarette, and he would no longer need his lighter, even though I think that thing is very cool and I want one for myself. But that's not even our first choice. In fact, I think there are two other Devil Fruit powers that can work just as well, if not even better, such as the Smoke Fruit. This could work in conjunction with his fire abilities and actually would be the perfect little mix. He can use it to distract you or lock you in place, pair that up with his blinding speed, and boy oh boy, you got yourself some trouble. And the most important thing is, he can smoke as much as he wants without getting cancer, even though I don't think he cares at this point. But that's not our winner, as this one might actually surprise you. Maybe, as I think the Pika no Mi, the Light Fruit, would be the perfect match for Sanji. Pair that up with his blinding speed, this man would quite literally be faster than light. Although I think he'll eventually get there by the end of the series, this guy would be an absolute beast. One thing Sanji severely lacks is long-range attacks. Seeing how well Kizaru pairs the Devil Fruit with his fighting style, such as kicks and sometimes swordsmanship, I think this would be a great fit for Sanji, especially because of the added variety of this Devil Fruit that this thing provides. He'd be able to make clones of himself, being able to be at multiple places at once, something Sanji would love to have as he's always trying to save people, but also he'd have the ability technically to go invisible, a Devil Fruit he always wanted, as invisibility is basically just reflecting light from yourself and thus giving you the appearance of being invisible. So one of his dreams would come true with some added bonuses. I did think of the Ice Fruit because ice and fire would be a great combination, and I think it would fit Sanji very well, but I think the Pika no Mi is our winner. Next, we have Nami. This one's a no-brainer, and obviously Oda thought the same as well, as he gave her the Lightning Fruit. This is a match made in heaven. With her vast knowledge of the weather, she'd be able to bring out the absolute potential and peak of this Devil Fruit power while also manipulating the weather. Pair that up with her Clam Attack and Zeus, and we have an absolute unit, something that even Oda agrees with. If she had this fruit, she'd be unstoppable. Another weather-like ability she could have is the Snow Fruit. Now, if you've been in the community long enough, you've probably heard of this theory back in Punk Hazard when Monet died, that her Devil Fruit power would be transferred to one of the tangerines on the ship, and Nami or one of the crewmates would eat it. It's a oldie, but it's a goldie, and I think it works for Nami, as she can manipulate the weather as well as the snow and cold. But ultimately, I think we'll go with the Electricity Fruit, but I think the Snow Fruit is a good runner-up. And next we have my favorite freak, the Cyborg Franky, the pervert, Freakazoid himself. This is another one that I actually agree with, Oda giving him the weapons fruit, which basically allows him to create any body part of his into whatever weapon he can imagine. And this guy is a very creative man. He can quite literally create a nuke and launch it at you. This guy would actually use the full potential of this fruit, and he'd be honestly one of the strongest people on the planet if it was in his hands. But I actually think there's another fruit that's even better matched for Franky, and I think he would use it even more effectively than the person who has it now, and that is the magnet fruit. Oh my god, if Franky had this, he'd be an absolute unit. As he himself is already made of metal, he can manipulate himself in his own body parts as well as his surroundings, and we saw the things that Kid was able to create with his magnet fruit. God knows what Franky would be able to create if it was in his hands. On Egghead right now, Franky would be a god. He'd be able to like transform and upgrade the General Franky mid-fight as well as himself, using the metal around him, and knowing how smart he is and how great of an engineer and shipwright Franky is, you know this fruit would be perfect for this guy, and I think this is the fruit we're going with. Now we have the right-hand man, the dude. If you were to have an amusement park where your ride is meat, his stands would be first in line. In fact, they'd be waiting the entire night for it to open. Of course, I'm talking about the one-eyed swordsman, Oronoa Zoro. Now this one was actually quite difficult because I think there's a lot of fruits that could fit with Zoro because he's such a badass. I think anything works. There's some obvious ones like the dice fruit that turns him into a living blade, or the Bara no Mi where you can't get cut, but I think that's a little unfair. There's the bomb fruit. He'd be a walking calamity and could fly around like Bakugo. The strong fruit. If Burgess could lift a mountain, then you know Zoro could cut an island in half. I think that fruit on Zoro would be nasty, simple but very effective, but ultimately the fruit Oda gave him, or well, his sword, was the dragon fruit, kind of like Funkfried. I think this is a dope idea, but I believe this is actually very detrimental to Zoro's fighting style. I can't see him swinging two swords and a dragon in the other hand. I think it'd be very cumbersome and very sloppy, kind of like Renji with Zabimaru. And so in this case, I actually think it's better for Zoro himself to have the dragon fruit because he'd have the added durability, he'd be able to fly, and he'd also have the extreme strength of a dragon, and I think it would actually fit his character and his fighting style quite a bit. But of course, there are other fruits I think could fit Zoro even better. Now when it comes to Zoro, he likes to get up close and personal and get into the mud with his opponents, and so I think a Zoan would actually be a pretty perfect fit for Zoro. Maybe something like the Buddha fruit that Sengoku has right now. It would kind of make sense because Zoro does have the Buddhist theme, especially with Enma being his sword, but he seems to be following the path of the Ashura. Not much is known about this fruit's power besides giving you superhuman strength, enlightenment by giving you a smarter brain, something Zoro desperately needs, and also turns into a giant golden Buddha. I think this fruit would be pretty sick, especially if he turns into his Ashura form. That'd be pretty damn dope. Now the one thing that's always been lacking with Zoro has been mobility and the lack of being in the air, like Sanji and even Luffy. This was something that King took advantage of until he stopped and wanted to be a little bit more fair. So I think the Phoenix fruit that Marco currently has would be a perfect fit for Zoro. It'd give him the ability to fly, better mobility, also heal his wounds so he can fight as long as he wants until his stamina runs out. So it might be a surprise to some people. I think we're gonna stick with this fruit because I believe it fits with his brute strength fighting style quite a bit, with the dragon and Buddha fruit being in our second and third place options. Next we have his Usopp. Oda gave him the pocket fruit, which is used by Flamenco, the 6th division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. If you don't know about this fruit, I don't blame you because not much is really known about it other than you're able to put anything inside of a pocket that's placed on your body and pull it out at any time. It's obviously a rip on Hammer Space in Western cartoons where they can just bring out weapon and items out of thin air. I do like this power, but of course, we got even better options. The first being the Warp fruit currently used by Van Augur. This would actually be the perfect fruit for Usopp, as he can teleport in and out himself and other people as far as his eye could see. Pair that up with his sniping skills and you have one of the most dangerous combinations in One Piece history. There's a reason though Oda gave it to Van Augur, the dark parallel of Usopp, and I can't wait for that fight. But I do think because of Usopp's cowardly ways and his fighting style, I think this would actually be the perfect fruit for him. Another option or close second is the plant Logia fruit currently used by Green Bull. Usopp does learn a lot about plants because of the island he was on and uses a lot of plant-based attacks in his weaponry, so I think this would be perfect for his abilities, as well as it being Logia where he has the added invulnerability. So I think this fruit would be pretty cool, but I think the Warp fruit is obviously our perfect match. And finally we have Jinbe. Oda gave him any flying ability like the bird fruit because if he can't swim, he might as well fly. I think this makes a lot of sense, but I believe the fruit they gave his Seraphim clone is actually the perfect fit. the swim fruit. Because of his fishman biology and karate, I think this is the perfect fruit for Jinbe, and I also think this is the end of the video. If you made it this far, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay notified. Maybe we'll do one for all the non-straw hats in the future, but otherwise, let me know in the comments which fruits you'd give each of the straw hats. Hope you guys have a good day and a good night. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.